Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. Simon is here with AvaTrade, and I'm happy that we're returning to our weekly webinars. And what a week we had. We'll be discussing what happened last week. We had some historical events happening, historical records done, and so on. And of course, welcome our new visitors. And for those of you, just two words about the whole structure of this. This webinar was created just to give us the ability to pretty much have a plan for the week, and that's what the title is. And it has been proven in anything, especially trading, if you have a preparation and you create a structure for yourself, a plan and some parameters for the upcoming week, or in general for any period of time, there's a better chance of getting a successful result. So this is the idea. Before we go any further, I'd like to read, as usual, the risk warning statement. Any capital markets and trading information disclosed in this webinar is provided for informative purposes only and should not be construed or applied as investment advice, a recommendation, or suggestion. CFDs are complex instruments and come with a high risk of losing money rapidly due to leverage. 71% of retail investor accounts lose money when trading CFDs with this provider. You should consider whether you understand how CFDs work and whether you can afford to take high risk of losing your money. You can always find the full disclosure statement at avatrade.com website. And you can follow us on Twitter, YouTube. YouTube, always we adding new tutorials and videos, and the webinars, including this one, is being posted there as well. Very good, resourceful place to go. And usual agenda, we'll go through indices, FX, commodities, and stocks, not necessarily in the same order. And before we go there, I usually like to see or to bring the whole big picture of what's been happening, and then we'll go to the MT4 and look at specific instruments, possible levels, possible outcomes. So we'll start from NFPs. And before we go there, just bring what's happening in the big picture. There's a lot of things happening around COVID. Some European countries easing on restrictions, and US is considering doing it as well. Even the health organization is warning that the danger is still there. Some places cases are falling. In some cases, cases are rising. So it's not that straight, and we'll see more announcements in that direction in upcoming weeks. And that's still remaining an issue, of course. Now, Russia, Ukraine, this is a few weeks in a row that I'm mentioning that issue. It's still there. It's still hot. We'll be seeing some assets that are being affected by it, oil and natural gas specifically. So that is still there. And it brings us to NFPs. This is the NFP that came out on Friday. For those of you that are not aware of this, this is the most kind of significant announcement of the month. It usually happens on the first Friday of the month. And here, the main thing is how many jobs are added, the non-farm payroll. This is the whole idea of the announcement. And also, second important thing is the unemployment level. That's also very, very important. So in this announcement, they were expecting 150 jobs added, and we added 467,000 jobs, and unemployment went a little bit higher. It was 3.9, and this last report for the month of January rose to 4%. So what does it tell us? Some analysts start thinking now, because of the good employment data as far as added jobs, they think, or some of them think that in the March meeting, that's the mid-March, I think 15, 16 of March, the Feds, they're supposed to give the first announcement on the interest rate rising. And they said that based on this data, it could be that we'll see not a quarter point increase, but half a percentage, 0.5. And then we'll take a look what happened on the market when the numbers came out. So this is the NFPs that just passed. Now, the upcoming week, I just took the most important announcement in red, the high impact. We have Bank of Canada governor speaking on Wednesday. Thursday, important inflation data from the US. And on Friday, we have GDP numbers from UK and the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index. Last time it was low, I believe. And the inflation numbers from Germany. Okay, that's pretty much, it's not a lot of data actually, not a lot of announcement for the upcoming week, but we'll see how this NFP report is being digested by investors and retail traders and everybody else, excuse me. So let's move on and we'll come into the MT4 platform now. And we'll take a look what happened actually with the announcement first. I just want to show you how important it is to know and to be prepared. You know, again, I always say, even if you knew exactly what the announcement will be, you cannot really predict how the market will react. But just the fact that you know it's happening prepares you. So you can take few things. You can stay away from trading. Some people like to open the trades into the news. Some people like to trade during the news. And everybody has their own approach. And some just waiting till, I call it till the dust settles, maybe the first 15, 30 minutes to an hour till we pick their direction. Okay, so this is the announcement. I put the vertical line here. This is the S&P 500. Take a look. The announcement came, the initial move was pretty much up and down, and we closed lower. The next 30 minutes, we almost recovered this move. Then we tried to go higher, we failed, we went to retest the bottom, and then for the rest of the day, we continued higher. And then the last half an hour of the day, it was a sell-off, okay? So again, initial pessimistic mode, then they try to see if this bottom holds, and the moment they established the support, we went straight. A small pullback here, but went straight from 4 p.m. GMT time all the way to 8 p.m. GMT time, and then the last half an hour we really sold, and after market it was a continuation. After the market, the US market closed, it was continuation. So again, if we are expecting the Feds now, based on the latest data, what the analysts saying, the increase in 50%, we could see a little bit of a pressure to the downside of the market, and that's what happened in the end of the day. This is the last half an hour of the trading session. Take a look. We pretty much erased the previous 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 previous 3 hours of the intense move higher was erased by half an hour move down. Okay, so it's going to be an interesting week. We'll be watching. We'll go through the indices in a moment. You know, while we're here, let's just go through it. So we'll move back to the daily chart. I'm going to remove this horizontal bar not to confuse us, and I'll bring the chart with the moving averages. Again, this is 50, 100, and 200 moving average for those of you that are curious what this line or lines represent. So Nikkei, we take Nikkei, the Asian market. It was strong on Friday. Actually, after a small correction, we went higher. Let's see what this week brings. Asia opens the first, and then followed by Europe, and then US. So we'll see what happens there. DAX had a nice fall to the downside, and we'll go in a moment and see how is it connected to euro. Euro had a very, very strong day. It was the strongest currency of the last week, especially on Friday. So DAX moved lower and kind of retrying or retesting the supports of these huge drops here. 1, 2, 3, and before that we had a lot of attempts to bring this level or to break this level around 15,045, and we did touch it. The lowest on DAX was 15,049 and a half. So let's see what happens in the upcoming week. If we are holding here, we can come again closer to it and see if we're holding, we can start bouncing. And if another strong attempt will bring below this support, let's take a look at the weekly chart, and it looks much clearer here. Take a look. We had the support here, support here, support here, strong support again and again and again. So after a few bounces, it keeps on coming back, and the pressure kind of increasing to this level around 15,000. So if the US market and anything else and in general, the equity markets are starting to pull in, at some point DAX can break this level and start building up below. So this support becomes a resistance, and we are sitting between the 50 and 100 moving leverage on the weekly chart. So if we see the breaking of this level, we could see a continuation to the downside, and that could be happening as well. So that's DAX. FTSE, the UK index, we had in a way a double top, and the past 2 days we were going down, and we are above all the moving averages on the weekly chart as well. So FTSE is holding strong. Let's see what the upcoming week is bringing in that direction. The US indices pretty much they look the same as S&P, Dow Jones, and Nasdaq as well. Nasdaq had the strongest selling. We'll be talking about the events and beating the records on the losses and on the gains in some stocks of Nasdaq. So in general, if you look at the weekly chart on the US indices, we had a positive week with all the actions. We still closed in green, and most of the indices closed in green as well. So that's it as far as indices. Again, let's see how the weekend goes and how we start the week, and what would be the mood of the investors based on the NFPs. Okay. Let's move to another geopolitical thing, which Russia and Ukraine. As we said, the crude oil and natural gas are being highly affected by it. And take a look, crude oil is just keeps on going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks. We're going higher without any pullbacks on the weekly chart. And on the daily, take a look. We had a drop, we had a move, a little correction, and since then also we had small pullbacks here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and we are moving higher. The high on oil on Friday was 93.15, and we closed the day a little bit below 92. 91, 94 was the closing. And if we take a look at the weekly chart, we are pretty much making very strong high lows, higher highs. It's very, very strong bullish trend on oil. And of course, Russia-Ukraine conflict is playing a huge role in it. And of course, maybe some excitement and optimistic notes on COVID adding to it as well. Now we are facing the level from which we dropped. We actually right above it, right around the same level, or 92. This high of this bar was 92.95, so 93. We did hit it on Friday. So the question is, will we hold this level around 93? Will we break and go higher And as we said a few times, the predictions, including I believe from Goldman Sachs, that the oil will hit soon 100. We're not that far away from it. So we could do that, and we could even go, technically speaking, to this level right here. The high of this candle was 106, so we can go to this level, and then oil will decide what's next. But first, we need to break out of 93 and start closing about 93, because we had a lot of actions actually around 93. So that's oil. Natural gas is acting up really strangely. Let's take a look at daily chart. We did speak about it, if you remember, that we came back into this activity zone, or accumulation zone, and we had a very strong move out of here. We just went through 4, we went through 5, and we went as high as 557, almost 556.9, and that was on the 2nd of February. And then the 2 days we pulled in. We pulled in 2 days, and it's really, I guess, hard to say what's next. In order for us to continue higher, we would need to come back about this level right here, and that would be around 487. We did hold it, as you could see. We came to this level, we had a correction, and then we went straight back, and we started closing about this level, which confirmed the support. And this was the move as a result of that strong support. And then the following day, we raised that move. And on Friday, it was a strong pull in on natural gas. So I think in the upcoming week, of course, anything, we can go lower and start retesting again around this accumulation level, or more likely again, it could go and return to this level and start praying or playing around 487. And if we are closing above it, it would open again a possibility for move higher. Otherwise, we are kind of in between consolidation zone and the important level, so anything could happen here. That's natural gas. Let's take a look at other commodities. Copper is been having strong days over here. It is moving higher. It didn't pull back on the falling markets, so that means that there's more reasons to it why it's going higher, and it kind of established a support above 446, so that could be a beginning of a next stage to move higher. Take a look on the weekly chart. It shows very nicely. We kept on retesting the 50-week moving average, and we keep on bouncing from it. So if we are choosing to go higher, we can go as high as 476 and higher, and we'll be watching what this week brings. Gold has been really trading in the tight range with a lot of tails. After this fall, we tried to bounce, but we keep on playing with the 1800. We go below, we go above. Finally, we closed 1807 on the week. It had a lot of activity during the NFPs, so let's see how this week will play in gold. It's very hard to say what's next. If you take a look at the weekly chart, there's a lot of consolidation here. So we came just to see what happened before we had the very strong move higher. Then we turned the trend to the bearish one. We kept on making lower lows, lower highs, lower low, lower highs. This is the bounce. Again, we kind of established the 1700 support, and then we went higher over here to 1909, and we right in between 1700 and 1900. So anything could happen. We'll be watching the upcoming days and weeks what's next on gold. Definitely a lot of activity here, a lot of choppy trading. It could be accumulation for the next move up and down. We don't know. We spoke about palladium. Palladium had a correction week after this super strong move higher, where the past 2 days were selling. So we might continue to the downside, or we might find a support around this level. If we do continue to the downside, we can go to around 2200. and possible stop around here that would actually match one of the moving average here, or it could be a temporary correction before the move higher. So we'll be watching palladium as well. Now let's take a look at our softies, the soft commodities that we said they pretty much have a bright future for the year according to Barron's. And take a look. Let's bring the weekly chart. We had the 2 negative weeks on wheat. Corn has been strong besides the last week, and soybeans were the strongest. Okay, so out of 3 of them, soybeans were the strongest. They had 3 straight weeks up, which potentially could mean that we're going to face soon some kind of resistance, and it could be coming around these levels over here, but very, very strong. So wheat and corn a little bit weaker. So if you measure them from the strongest to the weakest, soybeans is the strongest, corn is next one, a little weaker, and the wheat is the weakest as far as the last week action. Okay, that's it with commodities. We'll move now to Forex world, and we start with dollar index. Dollar index had a really bad week. We sold out after the 2 up weeks, especially the previous one was very strong, and we stopped right on this moving average right here on the weekly chart, and that's a 200 moving average. So if you take a look on the daily chart, we after closing on Wednesday below the 50, it opened the next move, and then we went to retest 100 moving average. So last time we retested 100 moving average, we made a new recent high. So we could be facing the same thing over here, especially ahead of possible interest rate increase. So Friday was an up day after this 4 days drop, and we did make a new recent high. We broke out of this range, and that's what we've been talking the previous week, that possible we're going to retest 97, and that's exactly what happened. This tail right here, the high was 97.42, and then we just dropped straight back, went through 50 moving average and stopped on 100 moving average. Now euro, I mentioned to you DAX before, right? Let's bring DAX again. DAX sold out, and I think partially was due to very, very expensive euro. Euro had a tremendous move after this recent sell-off below the consolidation area, where the straight move up, and we went from 111 and a half to 114 and a half. So 300 pips move. Very nice. Whoever caught this move, beautiful job. And if you take a look at the weekly chart, we pretty much covered the previous 3 weeks of falling. So now what's next on euro, we'll be watching again. Again, what happened last week, we spoke about that European Central Bank, they were supposed to make a decision on interest rate. There was no increase on the interest rate. And even though there was no increase, the euro went higher. So you never know what's happening here, but technically speaking, we are facing a resistance here. Again, speaking of levels, take a look. Last time we stopped at the high of 114.81, and this time 114.83, 2 pips, and we retraced. So again, speaking on levels, I'm a big fan on levels. You don't have to be, but sometimes they work. So 114.82, we stopped. So that means this level from which we made a lower low, it is a very strong resistance at this point. So in the upcoming days, we might see correction or move down on euro. Now bring the pound. Pound, Bank of England actually had an increase in interest rate, and pound reacted to it nicely. It had the whole week green going up. Only Friday it went down on a dollar correction here. So that's as far as pound. We'll go through majors now. Aussie dollar also had a positive week, but Friday big sell-off. USD CAD. USD CAD was pulling in, and on Friday, dollar took over and moved higher. It's funny, despite the move of oil to the upside, dollar was really, really strong against Canadian dollar over here. I guess a lot to do with the NFP numbers and Canadian data as well. Okay, so that's a nice move. And let's take a look at the group of currencies that we said that when the market's selling, yen as a safe haven is experiencing some inflow of capital. So let's take a look what happened there. Aussie, JPY, Friday sell-off. Euro JPY. I think Euro JPY would be a good candidate to watch for the upcoming week. If the market pulls in and Euro cools down a little bit, we could see a very nice correction here to the downside on Euro JPY. NZD JPY also Friday was a sell-off, and CAD JPY as well, and Pound JPY as well. Okay. So let's move to stocks now. So before we go, I know we spoke about a lot of things. We spoke about Russia, Ukraine. So crude oil, natural gas is being highly affected there. We spoke about indices as they are uh, kind of responding to NFP numbers and for potential move in the upcoming days and weeks due to the opinion of some analysts that the increase interest rate could be more aggressive than planned, and that could cause indices to pull in again. And dollar index, after falling, it start regaining a little bit of a strength. So stocks, the amazing stories of last week. I'm sure most of you heard the stories, and the most famous story, of course, is the Meta platform or Facebook. Let's take a look. Yes, this is not a visual trick. This is the history. So on the announcement, the stock fell tremendously. I think Facebook lost about 230 billion in market capitalization. Huge move. And really, after the move, we don't see the recovery there. So I think this was the biggest drop in history as far as the market capitalization. So it could just tell you how one announcement, one projection. Basically, what happened with Facebook, a few reasons. The biggest one, they really losing the market share to TikTok, and TikTok is gaining a lot of traction, a lot of popularity among young people, and people just switching from Facebook to TikTok, and projected revenue is going to shrink, and so on. So the stock reacted tremendously to the downside. Now, on the other hand, we had the Snapchat that actually on the day of announcement of Facebook, they did fall. Take a look. But then when the company itself announced the results and everything, really robust results and great projections, and the stock went up 58% on this move. So it's really, really, really amazing. And on Snapchat, the closing price was 39.15, and few analysts really boosting the price target. The Bank of America on Snapchat, they raised it to buy from neutral, and the price target is $55. And JP Morgan, previously they had the price target 82, now they decreased it to 65. So Snapchat had a very, very strong bounce here, and you could see it on the chart. It might continue in the upcoming days and weeks. Now, another two big players, Google. Google had some amazing moves over here, and Amazon, I think, saved the day. This is the Amazon, and this is the announcement. So Christmas shopping, that's the main reason on Amazon. And why am I saying the Amazon saved the day? Because everything was really, really gloomy with Facebook and everything else. And then comes Amazon with great news. Stock gapped up tremendously. And we did finish the week on the positive note. So that's why I said in the beginning, what a week we had. We had historical moves, historical gains, historical losses, And the upcoming week is going to be very, very interesting, because when we have the big shakeups, the volatility increases, a lot of interesting things happen. And the upcoming week, I just want to bring two stocks that are reporting. We have Uber reporting on the 9th of February after the market. And just to remind you, this was the move after CEO had a really nice outlook for the stock, went higher. When the market sold, Uber pulled in. And here, Friday was a very nice update on Uber after 2 days of moving lower. So let's see what actual earning shows. As we said, on the 9th, after the market will report, so the whole week into the earnings is going to be very active on Uber. And Disney is reporting as well on the same day after the market. And the stock was pretty much beaten here, if you remember. It started here on the earnings and the outlook, and the most negative part was on the streaming part of the business. So we had a nice drop over here. We had a little bit of a correction, and let's see what the earnings brings in the Disney stock. Okay, and let's just wrap up with Bitcoin, which showing signs of life. And just take a look. We did drop from this area around 41. We held here. This where the whole move started to the new highs. This was where the drop stopped, and then after that we went lower, went as low as 33,000, a little bit below, and then slowly we were climbing up. This was a sell-off, signaling possible move lower. And instead of that, we did move higher. So this was on the 4th. This was a Friday move, very, very strong move higher. And we are at the very strategic level here, around 41,000. That if we break, we can continue higher. Of course, all the investors and traders are hoping for it, because everybody's dreaming for making tons of money in it. Or we could refuse to break through this level and come back and retest it. Okay, that's it pretty much. I wish everyone a great weekend, whatever is left out of it, and stay healthy, happy, safe, be excited. And I'm very excited about the upcoming week, because when we see such a huge shakeups to the upside, to the downside, it creates a lot of interesting trading opportunities there. I wish you all the best. Take care.